Welcome to Game. Hey guys, and welcome to GTLive.
Ooh, T.
Only-
Did someone say T?
Only this time, the T isn't just a letter that stands for theory. Instead, the T is an actual word.
And a drink that I'm holding right now.
And a beverage, T-E-A-T.
Today we're kicking it off with a nice Fulton Street Earl Grey.
Ooh,
Keeping
yes,
it simple.
Sorry, I should have asked. What are you drinking today, Stephanie?
So, like I said, keeping it simple, a nice Earl Grey, which is a black tea with bergamot and orange.
So you might notice, and you don't ask me what I'm drinking. I'm
What
drinking
are you drinking?
unnamed carbonated beverage X.
I can't imagine what it could be.
What could it be? I don't know.
So this is a bit of a different format. I'm liking
Sorry.
it so far, though.
I was just enjoying my unnamed carbonated beverage X. So you might notice that things are a little bit different around here today. A little bit more laid back. A
You've
microphone
got your
that's a
sultry,
little bit.
like radio voice on. I don't know what's going on over there.
So do you, Steph. You're super sultry with your radio voice. Oh, hey,
No, that's
Jason,
just-
what's Jason doing?
I'm just sick. I've got a lot of phlegm. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Jason. Oh,
That's his hand.
nice
This
hand.
is Jason's hand.
Good job.
Hi, Jason.
So you've already been turning to Matthew too much.
Oh, okay.
Aw.
Aw.
There's no such thing as turning to me too much, Stephanie. You can turn to me whenever you're in need.
Thanks,
I'm
man.
here for you.
And we're here for you.
We are. So,
Welcome to Tuesday.
yeah, welcome to Tuesday and GTLive, which is a little bit of an experiment that we're doing here. So you'll notice that the microphones are plastered smack dab in front of our face,
Right in our mouth.
which can only mean one thing. We are live filming a podcast right now.
Whoa.
If there are microphones shoved into your mouth hole, that usually means that it's probably like a podcasty sort of thing.
It's podcast time.
Watching the internet has taught me anything. That's what it is. So this is just kind of us experimenting with something different. Us trying out what a podcast would look like and feel like as a portion of GTLive as it currently exists.
Why are we doing that?
Why are we doing that, Steph?
So there are actually a couple of reasons. One is actually just sort of a practical one. So from like literally years of comments, Twitter posts, everything, you guys have sent us, you tell us how you watch GTLive and like sort of what contexts you watch it in. A lot of you watch it while you're doing homework. A lot of you watch it on commutes, sometimes covertly at school. Whether or not that's a good idea, I'm not saying we advocate for it. I'm saying we're just facilitating it. Or sometimes you even watch it to go to sleep on long days when you're sick, whatever it is. So we wanted to actually give people the opportunity or like an easier way to watch or consume GTLive episodes without having to have like your eyeballs plastered to the screen the entire time. We've also heard from a lot of you that honestly just like one of the most touching things we get told about GTLive is that like, hey, I feel like I'm hanging out with friends. I feel like just like having someone else in the room with me while I'm eating dinner, while I'm doing whatever it is you're doing in your life. Having company to do that is nice. And so again, we wanted to sort of meet people where they are when they're watching our live streams, so that you could be doing kind of whatever you're doing. And if you're watching, hey, great, we're still here, we're on screen. But if you're not watching, you can still know what's going on and you can still kind of hang out with us, appreciate what we're talking about, and weigh in the chat still if you want to.
It's also one of those things too where there are just some topics that we want to talk about.
And yes, I see so many people in the chat. They're like, I'm doing my homework right now.
There you go. We hear you and we are there for you.
Yeah.
And now we're there in audio form as well. But I think the other big reason for this is there's a lot of, news stories that are happening, a lot of topics that are that we want to cover, a lot of stories that we want to share, personal experiences, things like that are maybe better presented by just talking about them, by, just talking about the news, by sharing those personal stories and not necessarily having to like split or divide our focus by playing a video game. They're not necessarily conducive to funny reactions or like, whoa, that was so cringy or whatever, but rather just like sitting on a couch, talking to each other, talking to you guys in the chat and on Twitter, and really just kind of diving into the meat of what's going on. Hence the name GTeaLive. We are literally
Oh.
spilling the tea. Like that's also a very popular term right now.
Right.
And Stephanie, has always been a tea lover.
I may have a bit of a propensity for tea, so it worked out really well. The other one we were honestly debating, we're still debating a little bit, is actually calling it T-Series.
T-Series.
TEA series. You get it?
It's totally
you
gonna
get
happen.
It?
I
It's
think
gonna
we're totally
happen.
gonna
I
do
think
it.
we're gonna go there.
But you'll note, I'm just excited. I don't know if you saw at the very beginning of the live stream, but we have a new logo.
Yes.
Just for these, and this one.
Oh, look, there it is.
There it is. Oh, look there.
It's on
Whoa.
screen, but again, you don't have to be watching. You could just be listening.
It's a green teacup in the middle of our usual logo.
Yeah.
Instead of the trophy. It's great.
So it's a lot of fun. You guys let us know what you think. So far, actually, already, you guys are like really positive about this. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Tell us what you think throughout. We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Helena Ashbow says, I love this idea so much. I'm doing homework. Cassie Thompson says, this is a wonderful idea. I'm seeing a lot of this, like, love this. Yes, I love this. So hyped for this. This is a great idea. Okay,
Good.
awesome.
This is
Great.
awesome to hear. And we're nervous. Bear with us. We're learning a lot here. We're not sure how much we should be eating the microphone at any given point in time.
Yeah.
But, we're going to do our best, and this is a learning opportunity for all of us. We're also in the process of coming up with a new intro. It wasn't ready for today.
Yeah.
The
But
logo is
we're
ready,
working
but
on
we're
it.
working on it. So we'll see. It's a fun experiment. If you don't keep experimenting online,
What are you doing?
what are you doing with yourself? So, like we said, let us know what you think, and you can also engage.
Yeah,
so
you
even
can
though this
still engage
is
with the stream.
podcasty land.
It's still a live stream. You can still hit us up on GTLive. We're going to hop over there. I still have the chat running a mile a minute in front of me. So awesome.
Hashtag GTLive.
Hashtag GTLive over on Twitter.
Or over in the chat.
Yep. Let's do it.
So that being said, what should we talk about when it comes to spilling the tea, other than some of the news that's happening in and around all the industries that we care about, the people that we know, and so that includes everything from like other YouTubers, gaming, just things that affect the internet as a whole.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on every single week.
A lot of it's just for funsies. Some of it's a little bit more serious, but it's all going to be like a fun discussion. I think it'll be all stuff that all of us here find relatable.
Yeah, so the first thing to kind of kick things off is more of a personal story for us, which is that a lot of the channels who were once owned by Defy are starting to get picked up.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Oh, we're starting in with Defy. Okay, so yeah, I think we should preface it by saying this is probably not like the day that we're going to talk about like our own part of the Defy media scandal or anything like that. Like we have videos that are going up on Game Theory and are talking more about like MCN stuff. But to what you just said, we knew a lot of people at Defy. Like we had a ton of friends there. We knew the entire Smosh crew, the entire Smosh Games crew, a lot of the clever folks. Matthew used to work at Defy. So like we knew a ton of people there, and as angry as we are at like Defy and how all that went down, the people who worked there like had nothing to do with that, and a lot of them were really cool content creators who now like need to find other homes to do what they do.
And it's worth noting, and the reason we're starting off with this one is obviously it's been a big issue for us on the Game Theorist channel, and we've been doing a lot of videos and a lot of work behind the scenes on this whole legal case that's going on, but we haven't actually gotten a chance to really sit down and talk about the nuances of the whole thing, and there's a lot of misinformation out about what's going on, and specifically where we fit in versus how channels like Smosh fit in, right?
Yeah.
So the difference between the Game Theorists and some of the other channels that were affected, like Pencilmation Studios,
We're
like
nerdier.
Ryland, things like that.
We're nerdier.
Well, one, we are most certainly nerdier than Smosh, and clever. That is accurate.
Not as cool.
But the other thing is we didn't sell our channel or our content
Yeah.
to Defy, right? So early on in Smosh's life, they were bought by a larger company.
Yeah.
They sold the IP and all of their content to what eventually became Defy Media. Same thing with Clever. Clever existed as a network of channels all oriented towards female gossip and news and entertainment.
Defy just created that one, right? They didn't. There was
No, they were purchased too.
Oh, really?
Clever
Oh.
was purchased as well.
I thought that they were one that like someone in Defy like thought up the Clever channel and then just started doing it. No, do you know who the founder of the Clever channel was?
I mean, they were more corporate in nature, but that company also got eaten up by Defy.
Oh, okay.
Defy for a period of time bought a bunch of other companies and kind
Yeah.
of like Pac-Man eating up a bunch of beads.
Because they bought Escapist and all that stuff. So that was like that Clever was like that too.
Was another one of those, yeah. And another good example is the Warp Zone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are familiar. I've done a couple of acapella videos over
so
there.
good. Those are so good.
But they're another like gaming / nerd scripted comedy and musical parody channel. If you haven't checked them out, they're fantastic. They're a team of great guys. They're wonderful. But again, early on in their channel's life, they also sold to Defy, right? So we were always kind of separate from them.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of these other channels that, you know, are being talked about in this, they were actually properties of Defy.
Yeah.
And in the aftermath, they literally like lost their jobs and the channels go blank. They go defunct, right?
Except for Smosh. So Smosh has been filming and uploading, and they still have like 100 million views a month, which is sort of incredible. It's like actually mind blowing.
It's great.
And we're like, I'm really happy for them because one of the Smosh, because one of the things that we were wondering like what happens to a massive channel if it just goes blank or goes dark for like a long time, like what happens, but it's. So they've been filming, they've been putting up stuff, which is smart for a couple of reasons. So the first is obviously that just like it shows that they care about their channel, it shows that they care about their fans and all that stuff. But behind the scenes, Defy is trying to sell off Smosh, right? They've got this channel and they're like, hey, maybe we could pay off more of our debts if we sold off this channel. Smosh, Clever, Warp Zone, they're all in the same boat. Defy is trying to sell them to someone so that they can get cash to like
pay us back.
Like to pay back people.
Quite
right?
honestly, pay back Ally Bank again. Like this whole idea of
Yeah.
like Defy has a pot of money that they have to use to pay back
Yeah.
people like Ally Bank, people like us,
And they have to sell
all those
off
other-
everything from like the channels they own to like the chairs that all of the employees' butts were in to try and get as much money as they can to pay back stuff. So they want Smosh to sell for as high a price as possible, and they're not going to sell for as high a price if there's nothing on the channel, right? If that channel has been dark for like months, then then who's going to pay for it, right?
Which and this is good news all around, right? Because if these channels do end up getting sold, that means all those creators suddenly are back in jobs, like
Hopefully.
actually paying jobs.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
you know, there might be some restructuring or whatever, but hopefully everyone's still hired back to work on the channels. It hopefully means that Defy gets more money to pay back more of the people that they owe that money to.
Yeah.
So overall, it becomes a more positive thing. And news came out earlier this week that the Hearst company,
Which is like a massive company.
publisher
Yeah.
of like magazines and newspapers. If you've ever watched Newsies, the villain, actually, the villain of Newsies is William Randolph Hearst, I believe, right? You know, this guy who's taken advantage of the newsboys.
Yeah, I mean, Hearst doesn't really have that. The Hearst company doesn't really have that reputation anymore. Like now, they own a lot of really legitimate news sources. But I always
like Cosmo.
Yeah, they own Cosmo, which I think is the one who actually bought Clever, which makes sense because it's like a style, it's like a style channel. That's clever. So Cosmo is all about like, you know, fashion and style and being cool, and so is Clever, and so that makes a lot of sense that those two would like kind of sync up.
Yeah, Cosmo attracts like an older audience. Yes, that is the logo for Cosmopolitan.
Wow,
Thank you, Chris.
You've got them all back
You've
there.
nailed all the logos to flash along the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Not images to actually like reflect what we're talking about. Just the logos.
Just the logo.
It's just the words. But no, Cosmo attracts like older women, you know, to find out what their ideal mate is or whatever the
There's
quizzes
a lot of
there
sex
always
quizzes
are.
in Cosmo
A lot
is what
of
Matthew's
sexual
trying
quizzes.
to say.
That's what I was going for, but I didn't know if I was allowed to
There's
say
a
it.
lot of sex quizzes. Let's just face it. It's I don't know why we wouldn't be able to talk about that. They are literally in the checkout line of every
Stephanie,
grocery
they're not
store.
brand safe.
But they are in the checkout line of every grocery store,
Grocery
and it's
stores
like
are allowed to not be brand safe.
87 ways to please your partner, and then they're like, "Geez, man,
Did you
I'm
know-
just trying to buy some broccoli here."
Did you know for a period of time, stores were required to have blockers to cover up those side titles?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know when that legislation kind of got removed, but there was a period of time where all stores that were carrying like Cosmo mags or any of those kind of like scandalous like sex quiz
because they are dirty.
They would actually have to cover up the side. You would only be able to see the image in the middle, and they would have to cover up the sides.
Yeah.
At some point, that got revoked because now you can see them again. But it's an interesting little little tidbit there. But,
they're juicy, those Cosmo magazines.
So Clever getting bought by Hearst
experience.
makes total sense because now all of a sudden they have an outlet to speak to younger audiences, younger like tweenage audiences, which I think is smart. And I think more interestingly, Smosh is currently being considered to be bought by Good Mythical Morning, which we're allowed to talk about because it's in a Tube Filter article.
Hey, that's good.
Don't worry, I checked about that
I was
in
like,
advance.
what are you saying? What are you saying?
Nope.
The look I just gave Matthew was like, one of us is gonna die on this couch.
That is correct. That would have been.
Oh,
a
thank
really bad
God!
move on
It
our
actually came out in the news. Okay, so yeah, and there have been rumors about it for like a few weeks now. But how exciting that we can talk about that. That's neat.
We are allowed to talk about that. That is now public knowledge.
As of today, this morning.
Chris, when did that article come out?
I believe that was today.
It was today.
Oh,
there
okay,
you go.
good.
See, look we're so timely about this
thank
now.
goodness.
Yeah, so we've heard about that, kind of rumblings about that behind the scenes for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
So it's cool that it's starting to be talked about, but it's really interesting, right? Because you don't necessarily think of Good Mythical Morning, Rhett and Link, who are on our charity live stream, who do probably the most well-known talk show here on YouTube, I would say.
Totally.
Food
themed.
At this point, I was going to say just
food taste test
food
show?
challenge show
Yeah.
here on YouTube, which is great.
Right? It's weird that
It's really evolved
their
from-
main competitor is now like Hot Ones.
It's true, actually.
But yeah, so you don't think of those as necessarily going to. When I first heard that, I was like, huh, that's a weird one. But honestly, I was like, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. But if you think about it, actually, so Good Mythical Morning, I don't know how many people know this, but Good Mythical Morning is like so much more than Rhett and Link. And I know that they have Good Mythical More, and you see a lot of their team behind the scenes, but they have about 40 people working in that office. We've been to their office.
Huge number of people.
It's massive.
They're massive.
We have like a live streaming like Nook. They have like a live streaming theater. It's crazy the kind of like setup they have, and it's
their offices
beautiful.
Literally do have a theater.
Yeah.
That's not an exaggeration. They will watch things on a theatrical screen.
Yeah.
With like multiple rows of seats. Like that is where they do business. It's one of the most beautiful office spaces that we've ever been to.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. They had a designer like professionally put it together. When you go, when Matthew was on Good Mythical Morning, we went and like they have this like gorgeous green screen with these like they bring out, I'm not even exaggerating, this box of this like basket of snacks that you can like barely lift because there's so much in it and it's so heavy, and it's all like beautifully arranged, and it's all like organic chips and these like beautiful fruit rolls and stuff, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm on TV.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
and quite literally on TV, because even the cameras, you know, for us, we're using our little GH4 Lumix camera. When we film stuff for social media, it's literally with just our phones. Google Pixel 3, they're great.
Hey.
But when it comes to like
Hashtag
what
not spawn this time.
Not spawn this time. But when it does come to Good Mythical Morning and how they film all of their videos, it's literally like true real TV cameras.
Cinematic, yeah. And they even have like what is it? The arm, the rig that's like
the jib.
The jib. They've got a full jib
You
to
cut
like
my jib,
zoom
Steph.
in. Oh, I like the cut of your jib.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. Thank you.
So they've got all sorts of stuff in there. They're amazing. So if you think about the setup they've got of any like YouTube channel, YouTube studio, they've actually got like the chops and like the structure to take in like a company like Smosh or like a group like Smosh.
Well, and also Rhett and Link have, like, before they were doing good, like obviously everyone knows Good Mythical Morning. That's really the thing that caused them to kind of really blow up. But even before that, when they were just Rhett and Link, before Good Mythical Morning, they specialized in doing comedic sketches, parody sketches. Like, if anyone understands kind of what Smosh is doing and kind of short form comedy on YouTube, they're a good place to do it. It's interesting though, because in a lot of ways it's similar to a BuzzFeed style model, like what BuzzFeed does, where they hire out or by, you know, other outside producers like the Try Guys, you know, back when the Try Guys were at BuzzFeed.
Yeah.
But like they'll bring in these creators who are really talented, really smart, really funny, whatever, and just basically, hey, we will give you funds to do your own thing, and we'll be kind of the business that helps run everything that goes around it, you know, and we'll take part of the profits or whatever. And that's what the Try Guys did at BuzzFeed. That's what, you know, it seems like Good Mythical Morning's really trying to do now by, you know, potentially bringing Smosh into the fold.
Yeah.
So it's on one hand, it's really weird to think about channels eating other channels and all kind of like working together in this internal system. But at the same time, if I were to see Smosh go anywhere, it's good to see it go to another YouTuber's.
Yeah, who's going to understand
who understands what they're doing and who understands the type of content that they make.
So, yeah, and along those lines, I got to ask you.
Ooh,
so,
oh, man.
How do you
Are
think...
we spilling the tea?
A little
Sorry.
bit. So, how do you think the efficiency of Smosh is going to change if they go to another YouTuber-owned company? Because, and this, like, it's tea, but it's like, it's not really, because like the company doesn't even exist anymore. When Smosh was at Defy, even the people in Smosh talked about like how many people work on Smosh. Like so many people at Defy worked on Smosh, and obviously it wasn't sustainable. Like they weren't able to pay that many people to work on all of that stuff. So like how is that going to change?
When I was at Defy, I was their director of digital strategy, so I would kind of consult them on all the different shows they were producing, programming for them, recommendations for things to kind of stay topical, you know, optimizations based on analytics, things like that. And one of the things that I kept trying to beat over everyone's head while I was there was that they were spending way too much on every production, and Smosh was one of them. The Smosh videos were so tremendously costly, at least during the time that I was working there, had so many people. I'm like, there's no way that you guys are building a sustainable business model here because everything costs way too much to make. I don't care if that video gets 10 million views and is like the most profitable video on YouTube. Like, you're spending way too much on this to earn it back without just massive brand deals. But there were other channels that Defy had too that were almost worse than Smosh. The Ami channel, while it was incredible because you had real life blacksmiths literally forging real swords from like fictional IP, like we made the Cloud Buster sword, we made Sephiroth's giant, you know, Messamune.
Yeah. I was like, does he know Messamune?
Yeah, no, I was trying to decide which way to pronounce it because I always pronounce it wrong.
Massamune.
I know there's so many different ways. Mune,
I don't know.
you know,
Yeah.
if you accent the last letter. But it's one of those things where like tens of thousands of dollars would go into every single episode of that show. I'm like, where are you earning your money back, guys? Because as a
You're
YouTuber
never gonna get
who
that back.
sees these numbers and sees how much these videos are earning, I hope you have other strategies here.
Yeah.
So I do think that under Mythical Entertainment, I believe, is their official
Mythical
company
Entertainment
name.
is the official name.
I could see them really kind of like dialing it back or paring down what they're doing to make it more sustainable and hopefully still without losing a lot of the quality that they have, but rather like conserving and merging production resources rather than it being all over the place.
Yep, totally agree. So Keegan Lloyd says, so also like Rooster Teeth. Rooster Teeth does have a similar model, and Rooster Teeth is like, they're amazing business people. So smart over there. We think
oh my gosh, Bernie Burns is one of my favorite people in YouTube. He is
so awesome,
so incredible. He's so nice. He's so smart. That is real tea. Like, I've met Bernie on multiple occasions. We've talked for a while. We spent a good number of lunches together. He's incredible. He's so smart. The way he runs that business and his team, it's so commendable.
Yep.
Plus, he was on The Amazing Race, which makes him even cooler.
I know. The Amazing Race was awesome. Okay, maybe for another day. Let's see. So I'll read off a couple of things, and then I think we should switch to a new topic.
I think we should.
Caitlin Julian says, "Spill that tea, Steph." Oh, we are spilling it, but I'm also drinking it. There's some that I'm not spilling that I'm drinking.
Stephanie's tea, actually.
And Gabriel Whitmore says, "I don't watch live and I won't get noticed, but I always like watching live. This is the first time, and I'm making my own theories. Thanks for inspiring me. That's awesome." And then finally, how much tea is there to spill? Says one Steph Squirtle 1. Well, let's switch topics and find out.
Let's find out, shall we? So the next topic that we have lined up to talk about is all things subscribe to PewDiePie.
Ooh. This is exciting.
A controversial figure.
I know this is an exciting topic. So I mean, I know. So we're gonna talk about like this whole Roblox thing with PewDiePie. But I think it's worth mentioning, like, so we talked to people about PewDiePie. Yes, we have a picture of him, just in case you didn't recognize him. This is probably the closest he'll ever be to guesting on GTLive. So,
wait, is that what he looks like?
Oh my gosh!
Wow,
I thought he was just a fist.
The fist went away a long
I know,
time ago. The fist is so
old school.
So old school.
That was old school.
That's bro army era.
But so we have a lot of conversations with brands that we consult about PewDiePie, and we'll maybe a different episode of GTLive will be like spilling the tea on brands that we like do consulting for, because they are crazy.
I think that'll be an ongoing thing if we do continue that, like GTLive.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stories that we can talk about when it comes to the conversations that we have with brands and companies who are looking to understand.
Yeah, who are trying to YouTube
and do YouTube or honestly any social video platform.
Yeah,
because and I think that it's worth calling out at this point. Like, that is a big part of what we do on the side that on the channels you would never really see, or you never really get to find out about. We mention it every once in a while in some of the meta theories, but basically, you know, we're out there helping brands understand their own analytics, helping them understand their programming, helping them understand how to work with YouTubers, all of that stuff.
Yep, exactly. So we talk to brands about PewDiePie sometimes, and it's so funny to see their reaction, because as soon as you say their name, we're like, they're like, oh no, we don't associate with that kind of person. And we're like, you know, what do you mean? Like popular people who get a lot of views on their videos? And they're like, no, Nazi anti-Semites. And we're like,
wow,
whoa,
we went
whoa.
No,
I mean,
but it's true.
They're like that kind of person, and we'll ask, like, have you ever seen a PewDiePie video? And they'll be like, no, I don't watch that because I'm not a racist. And it's like, all right, maybe before you like jump to conclusions, or before you like make big assumptions, maybe you should like watch like a video or two or something, and we'll try to explain sort of a little bit more than what they've read in the newspaper, because all they know about PewDiePie is what they've read on the news, right?
Yeah, there are companies that we've worked with who will outright not say his name and not let us say his name, or not let us include
presentations.
Not let us include him in presentations, because for some companies we'll do like, here's a quarterly update of everything that, like, every major event that you should be aware of or know about across all the different platforms, not just YouTube, but also like Twitter and Facebook and things like that. And obviously PewDiePie very frequently is in the news doing something, right? Right now he's doing, you know, the PewDiePie versus T-Series stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's always some big news story around him. And there have been moments where the people that we're talking to at the company will, before we give the wider presentation to the whole company, they'll be like, no, cut those slides.
Yeah.
We can't acknowledge him. And
Yeah.
it's like, if you are not acknowledging him, you are missing out on a huge portion of the internet. You might not have to agree with what he is, or who he, you know, what he does, or who he is, or whatever.
Here's the thing. He's said some really awful stuff online, and it's not here to judge whether it was meant as a joke or whether it was not, and whether he just has continually said some just like really dumb stuff sometimes. But here's the thing. He's super influential. He's like on top of every meme that goes out there now. He does his own commentary on all of YouTube and like all of social video. He's hugely important. And so for people to not acknowledge him is like, I don't even get it.
It's incredible too, because like they will viscerally get mad at us, where
they have such strong feelings. It's crazy.
One of the most memorable things that have happened in one of our consulting sessions is we brought up just merchandise in general.
Oh yeah, and how YouTubers do merch.
Yeah, and it was a very like preliminary thing. They're like, how do YouTubers make, I mean, when I say very preliminary, they're like, how do YouTubers make money? And we're like, well, there's ad revenue, there's blah, 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 right? And one of them we brought up was merchandise. And we're like, for instance, PewDiePie, when he first launched his backpack, the numbers that we got, like in the early days of his backpack, was like somewhere around $10 million in backpack sales to all his fans who wanted a PewDiePie bro fist backpack.
Wait, how much?
Wasn't it 10 million?
3.
Like that?
It was like
oh, was
3.
it 3?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
3. It wasn't 10. That was,
Right,
like,
I'm like that.
That's huge.
I'm like that feels like it was too big. But
yeah,
it was,
we thought it was like we had
somewhere in
heard
the
we had
millions.
heard or read that it was like a couple million, a
Yeah.
couple $1 million, and that was in like a month. It was in some like really short amount of time,
yeah,
right?
it was an incredible number, and literally the conference room that we were in erupted.
They were so angry.
Erupted.
They were like, "That's not fair. How
yeah.
could he?"
This is one of and
We're like,
mind you,
"What?"
this is one of the biggest companies
In the world.
In the world, like one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world, outright being like, "That's not fair."
And we're like, "What do you mean fair?" They bought backpacks.
Yeah, right. Like,
It's not
they
fair
bought
or not
merchandise.
or not fair. That's what people did.
They're like, "Why?" And we're like, "Because they like him. Like they like the backpack."
It
They needed-
was a blue backpack. It was a nice bag. I
They
guess
needed
it was a nice
someone-
backpack. I didn't see it. I don't know.
They needed something for their books. That's usually what a backpack does and why people buy it. Yeah.
They were like incensed about this, and this was a couple years ago,
This was
and it's
years
only
ago.
sort of gotten like I think the more people hear about him without actually watching anything he does, the more this sort of like idea gets around that he's like untouchable. We can't associate with anything that even remotely comes near him, which is I think they're like missing the forest for the trees kind of thing. Like they are refusing to acknowledge that the internet is has a lot fewer rules than like traditional media companies had, and you can screw up on the internet, and you can even screw up pretty big, but like the internet does respond when people say they're sorry, and does recognize when people try to improve. And for Felix's part, like he's cut some cursing, at least from his videos. He makes I don't know. I don't know how to pass. Like there's no judgment I'm trying to pass on this. It's just like he makes fewer racial mistakes and like misogynistic mistakes. I'm not trying to like pass judgment one way or the other, but he's again hugely influential. His audience really stands behind him, and the PewDiePie versus T-Series stuff has really just shown how true that is. And so if you're not paying attention to him, or if you're trying to like block anything associated with him, you're missing like this whole T-Series versus PewDiePie thing, and how like PewDiePie is this like representative for all of the internet culture.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that in a minute, I think. But first, all of this kind of relates back to the big news of, I guess, last week, really, where PewDiePie got banned from Roblox, and his audience basically did experiments to figure out, like, why was he banned in particular when throughout the live stream, throughout his time on the service, throughout his time on the game, there was nothing really that broke community guidelines. And by doing a bunch of A/B tests, apparently, the big differentiator and the reason why was because of offensive language, and the offensive language was the word PewDiePie.
Yeah.
That it was
it's
literally
on their like blacklist.
his name, which, yeah, again, like jumping to conclusions, that's a pretty big conclusion to jump to. And it seems pretty unfair.
Even if you don't agree with him, like even if you think he's a racist, even if whatever, like banning him and banning anything that uses his name is just it's like it's really unfortunate and sad.
What you pull up
and
here, Chris?
just weird.
So this is an example of someone receiving a warning from Roblox for using "Hi PewDiePie" while playing Roblox.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
Wow.
extreme. And
it's just super sad.
and here's the thing. Like, I can understand Roblox's decision if they were concerned about spam. Because right now, subscribe to PewDiePie is being spammed in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And so I could see the phrase subscribe to PewDiePie getting some level of filtering or some level of like added warning or whatever, because maybe they see it as just like spam content or bot content or things like that. Maybe I could give them that benefit of the doubt. But to outright just be like, hey, here's a word, and it's not even just a name of a person. Like, that's the equivalent of just like banning the name,
Like
whatever.
Trump or whatever.
Yeah, it could be Trump. It could be Bill Gates. Like, it could be any name.
Yeah.
It's just to not be able to use a specific name just feels slimy and skeezy.
So I would challenge you, and I would challenge 1 point on that.
Fun fact though, Trump is one of those words that gets flagged.
Yep.
On YouTube.
It is.
For questionable monetization.
Yep.
In a lot of cases.
So if you're using Trump in the word
title,
Trump in your title, watch out. You might be demonetized.
Yeah, you are actually subject to a greater level of review, at least based on our experiments and kind of in the data that we have. When we have used Trump in a video title, or when we've seen Trump used in a video title, more often than not, those videos tend to get yellow monetization buttons. Just saying. So again, PewDiePie and Trump, same, equivalent.
So I would challenge you. I have to play devil's advocate on this. I agree, but I would say that in our own community guidelines for this channel, at least it better be set to this, we have the use of the name Hitler flagged. Because the only time we see it used is in hate speech in our chat. So we have it on a banned list of words. If it's not on the banned list, put it on it now. You have like 4 seconds before the video catches up. So there are certain circumstances where we have a name that's on our banned list. I would say that it's unlikely that someone would use that name without it being offensive or hate speech driven. So that's why we put it on there. And I don't think that they're the equivalent. I don't think that Hitler and Trump are equivalent. I don't think Hitler and PewDiePie are equivalent. But we do have a name on there.
Well, and it was also often associated with, because from the live streams we actually learned, you learn a lot when you do a live stream, especially with comment management and what people do and don't spam the comments with. But we learned that, especially in the early days, a lot of people would use Hitler's name and then associate it with like emoji Nazi flags or like emoji like swastikas and stuff.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah, it's strange.
People ask us how we managed to do live streams without moderators, and no live stream is perfect. Like obviously there sometimes nasty things that come through the chat and whatever, but we don't call them out so they don't get attention. And then also we set like community guidelines around words that we don't think are appropriate for our community. And if it took us a long time to develop that list. Like it took us months to develop that list because people are very creative with how they use hate speech.
It's true.
Yep.
Here's a question for you, Steph.
Ooh.
So you're asking me these questions. I want to toss one back to you. Obviously, the PewDiePie T-Series stuff has been ongoing and has lasted longer than I expected.
Way longer.
Which I'm happy about, quite honestly.
Thank you, Mr. Beast.
Yeah, like I think Mr. Beast stepping up and kind of doing his part. I think like seeing creators really rally around this whole fight of PewDiePie versus T-Series has been awesome, and is not something that when we did our game theory on PewDiePie versus T-Series, was not something I was anticipating or really
I love that
seeing.
Everyone is now testing out all of the evil people they can put in the chat.
I was going to say.
Sorry.
I knew as soon as you opened that door, Steph, that
of course.
everyone was going to walk through and find where those limitations
Snape
exist.
and Voldemort. Those are not on our banned lists.
Snape and Voldemort.
But if you keep spamming them.
Voldemort. He who must not be named, guys, okay? Snape in particular.
Never
great.
tell the internet not to do something. Yeah,
Right.
I know. I knew I was bringing it on ourselves, but I thought it was an interesting question to raise.
But it is so on one hand I'm super excited to see that it's gone on this long. I think it's really awesome and very powerful to see so many people rally behind this idea of a native YouTube creator needs to stay at the top of this list.
Yeah.
Just from a symbolic standpoint.
Yeah, and it's like, it doesn't even matter if like I'm not that big a fan of PewDiePie or whatever. I'm a fan of the internet and internet creators and independent internet creators.
Which obviously I think, I'm in that camp of like, like internet creators first. Like this was our platform and
let's try and keep it.
Let's try and keep it the same.
Because in the video,
same, but keep it creator first, or at least like creator predominant.
Yeah, and even in the video that we did on T-Series versus PewDiePie and talking about that and talking about where T-Series comes from and stuff, the end of that video that we wrote was like kind of a bittersweet or like sad moment where we were like, this is a native YouTube creator being overtaken by a media company, and it's not going to go back. right?
it's not going to change.
The reverse is not going to happen. I mean, PewDiePie and T-Series are going to fluctuate for a while, so they may go back and forth a little bit. But overall, with a media company at the top, media companies are going to stay at the top.
Yeah,
like,
there's no winning that battle back.
That battle is not. That battle's over.
And I think a lot of people at least a lot of people on YouTube recognize that, which is why they're fighting so hard. And whether they agree with PewDiePie or not, like as a content creator or whatever, you see them coming out in support of the whole initiative. That being said, Steph, the question I wanted to pose to you is, if it was someone other than someone other than Felix, do you think that the internet would be so vehemently rallying behind him? So
What do you
like
mean?
say if it was like a Markiplier or a Jacksepticeye or top YouTube creator X, like, you know, if it wasn't PewDiePie specifically, do you think there would be more support, less support? I'm curious if there was any other creator, Game Theory, up as the #1 chat. Wishful thinking here, friends.
they'd be
No
like,
one
oh
cares
god,
about
that
Game Theory. They're
Matpat
like, oh,
guy,
thank
get
goodness.
him out of here.
Oh, thank goodness, he's the cancer of the internet. Give him the boot.
So on the one hand, I think that it would be more publicized if it were someone else who was less controversial. Like, you don't see anywhere in the news, like, this is huge on the internet. Like, it's a huge deal for YouTube and like the creator universe, but you don't see it anywhere in mainstream media. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that PewDiePie is so controversial and no one wants to touch him. If it were someone who was like super family friendly and they were like
Ryan's
trying to,
toy reviews.
if it were
being
Ryan.
unseated. Oh no, not
no.
Ryan's toy reviews.
He doesn't need any help. Don't
No,
worry.
he's doing fine.
His grandchildren can go to college and he's 14 or whatever. So yeah, I do think there would be more mainstream coverage of it, and it would be like this like pulling your heartstrings story of like small business or like the little guy and the internet rallying around the little guy in the same way that like the internet rallies around, you know, videos of sick puppies and stuff like that, and they're like, you know, in that kind of cathartic way. So I do think that. However, on the side of like the support that he's seen and like this grassroots movement, I do think there's something to be said, and this could just be my imagination, I'm just speculating, but I think there is something to be said for the fact that he has this like spotted past. There is something I think about that a lot of internet users or people on the internet relate to or find more human than someone who's like perfect and presents this like perfect persona. PewDiePie has like issues, right? He has, I mean, I don't know whether he has personal issues or not. But he seems fine. He seems like he's a very happy person behind the scenes, but like, but he has this like outward history of like, I made mistakes. I used to suck. I talk openly about the fact that I used to suck and I try and do better. He has this like redemption story a little bit in the eyes of the internet. Again, the media has completely written him off, but in the eyes of the internet, he has this like redemption story that I actually think makes him more sympathetic and people find more relatable as to like, hey, even if I screw up, I can redeem myself. People can still be out there supporting me. There are, you know, brighter days. And I think that's something that resonates with a lot of people who spend a lot of time on the internet and have a lot of their like social time tied to like spending time with people on the internet. You know what I mean?
Honestly, yeah. I think if there was one and you know, let us know in the chat. Steph can look in the chat and let us know what your thoughts are about.
Let us know what you think.
How would this situation be different if it was a different creator?
Jake Paul.
If it was Jake Paul, I don't think you'd see
unsubscribe to Jake Paul.
You would see
Mr. Beast is like doing the
T-Series.
unsubscribe to Jake Paul campaign. It's on billboards.
T-Series would no longer be the villain in that case. I would be like, nope, let's push T-Series to the top, friends.
I wonder.
That would be fascinating. But I would say, you know, I agree with you. I think you would see more mainstream coverage than you currently are seeing of the PewDiePie T-Series stuff. Because really the stories that have come out of this are fascinating and deserve as much coverage as possible. People hacking into accounts to take over printers that say subscribe to PewDiePie,
Right.
buying billboards all over the world to
Times
promote.
Square,
yeah,
all of that stuff.
to promote subscribing to PewDiePie all over India to promote it. Like PewDiePie himself doing like, hey, I don't want to be I don't want you guys attacking an Indian channel or the Indian people, so I'm going to do a whole charity donation drive around.
Such a smart move,
which
by
is
the
so
way.
great.
So strategic, like
so
strategically
great.
on point.
It's so great. And it's one of those things that, like, of course, no one talks about that stuff, right? All this fascinating stuff, which really should be getting a lot of attention because it just shows the power of the internet and goes back to what we were talking about before, which is there's just whole sections of the world outside of YouTube that refuses to acknowledge his existence, period.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we've already lost to this guy. Like, they would never say that.
Right.
But I think there's this animosity, this jealousy, it's not fair that this one kid has been able to, like, topple all these infrastructures.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to give it any more attention than it already has. This is stupid.
Yeah.
We're not going to legitimize it with a response. That being said, I do think that while you would see more media coverage, I don't think you would see the vehemence that people currently have. If
or
it were
have
another,
had for the last couple of months.
If it were another creator, just because, and I think a lot of it has to do with where PewDiePie is in his content right now, where he's no longer a gamer.
No,
like, he'll play games.
He hasn't been a gamer forever.
He'll play games.
It's
but
funny. He's in YouTube's eyes. He's still listed under the gaming vertical, but he's not.
Yeah, and he hasn't been for years.
Yeah,
he's not a gamer. He's not just like a commentary person anymore. Like, he's gone through 3 very distinct phases, and right now he's in kind of this like you said, this redemption arc, this phase
meme
3,
lord,
where he is a meme lord and like a popular events commentator.
He's the voice of the internet.
It's weird. He is the personification of the internet, which I think is, one, just fascinating, and 2, just brilliant from a content standpoint. But the people who do work with us and the people that we know, like the merch guys that we work with, are much older than us. But they, actively they don't watch everything that PewDiePie does, but they actively watch Pew News.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the people who are watching his meme review are younger.
Yeah.
And so you have in his kind of new programming and the way that he kind of does stuff on his channel now, you have this really interesting spread of content.
You have something for his old fans. You have something for new fans. It's actually, like, really smart if you look at his program. And we try and tell this to people. We're like, look at his. I don't care if you don't like his content. Look at his strategy. Look at his programming strategy. I'm not used to a microphone being here.
I know, right?
Look at his programming strategy. Look how smart it is, and look at why it works, and then learn from it. And people are like, no.
Yeah.
But they should. So.
But that's the thing, right? Is I think because of him kind of making this shift prior to all this T-Series versus PewDiePie stuff, I think because of that, he's able to get more people supporting him from more corners of the internet, right? Including like James Charles from the beauty community, Elon Musk from kind of whatever sphere he exists
from
in,
the pot smoking tech community.
Yeah, from and from obviously all the gamers that he kind of like grew up alongside.
Yeah.
And so he's touched so many different people, and his content touches so many different people at this point that it is one of those things that, like, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you did have just a gaming channel or just a beauty channel or whatever, it would be big in those communities, but would it be as big to the internet as a whole? I would argue not.
I agree. So Q&A Sister says, we all used to suck. It just depends on when we decided to change.
Ooh, that's deep.
I know.
That's a tweet right there.
Alex3 said, my parents think that PewDiePie is a Nazi and they won't let me listen when I say he's a good guy. Let's see.
Well, again,
people try to learn from what they don't even attempt to like or listen to, says Prime Meridian. You have to listen, and like you have to pay attention. A lot of times you can learn a lot from the people you don't like.
Right? I think like that's one of the things.
And we do like him. But there are a lot of people who don't, but could still get a lot out of it.
Yeah, it's scary and surprising, I think, nowadays. The internet's in this really interesting gray area, and as we do this podcast, this is probably something we'll talk about or go back to a lot. Mm-hmm. But the internet's in this very interesting inflection point where in the early days, it was all about getting people to use your website, right? It was all about getting more users to Facebook. It was all about getting more viewers on YouTube, more creators, this and that. And now all of a sudden, they've won. Everyone and their mother uses Facebook, or mostly everyone's mother uses Facebook.
Yeah.
Everyone is getting their entertainment from YouTube to some extent or another. Netflix, all these platforms have tremendous amounts of viewership, users, and they're all built on these algorithms, but the algorithms are designed to serve people stuff that keeps them in their content bubbles.
Yeah.
It's not forcing them to watch or participate or see stuff that they necessarily disagree with. Or that is going to challenge their perceptions. And humans, by their nature, are just going to be like, I think what I think, and I'm not going to want to, like, expose myself to different viewpoints and this and that, and the internet has kind of facilitated that in a lot of ways. And so we're in this weird gray area where the platforms, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, have to decide, are we going to show people stuff that they might not like? Are we going to show people stuff that they might disagree with and thus pop them out of their content bubble? Because
they're going to be mad about it.
Right, they're going to be mad and they're not going to use our website, or they're going to, like, you know, not be on our website as long. But it's better probably ethically from that standpoint.
To do it.
And then on the other hand, you need, like, people to be like, yes, I'll
think
an
outside
open mind.
my bubble, yeah.
And again, that's what this is all about, right? Is, you know, you might not like a piece of content, you might not like a certain creator, whatever, but watch them and learn from them.
Like,
talk to someone else and just get it. There's so much to be learned from talking to other people and keeping an open mind about it.
Yeah, talking to people who have a different experience or a different perspective than yours, even if you don't like their perspective. Judah Jackson says it really well in the chat. I don't like some of the things that PewDiePie says, but he is so smart as a YouTuber. And that's all you need to know, right?
Yeah, it's and honestly, that's like same thing with me, and I think same thing with Jacksepticeye. In the aftermath of Pewds' big scandal, I would say his biggest one, where it was the death to all Jews Fiverr scandal.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Where he hired people to hold up that sign.
Yeah.
Which was very weird. Did I think that he had malintent with that? No, probably not. Did Jackson?
Was it real dumb? Yeah.
Oh, was it dumb? Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Was it a joke that didn't land or didn't really fell
and
into
was
this
not
weird
okay?
gray area?
Yes, it was not okay.
I would say, like, for me personally, it was. And
it was
obviously
okay?
No. It was. It fell into that kind of like not okay territory.
Yeah.
Like, it was not something that I read as a joke, even though I kind of understood it was, which is why we did a whole film theory about, like, how do you tell a joke?
Yeah.
To make sure that
Not
people
like that.
understand it's a joke.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because in the aftermath, Jacksepticeye, he, you know, people were like, he came out kind of being like, I don't agree with this as a joke. Like, this didn't read as a joke to me. Like, I'm concerned about this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people raked him over the coals, being like, PewDiePie's the thing that made you. How dare you? Like, aren't you his friend? And you can be a friend to someone. You can support someone. You don't necessarily have to agree with everything that they do. And because you're a friend with someone doesn't mean that they're infallible.
Yeah, and you can, and part of being a friend a lot of times is like calling people out on stuff that's not okay for their own sake.
Yeah, that is the essence of friendship,
that's like,
right?
That's a good friend.
Being confident enough in your relationship to be like, hey, I don't think that was smart. I don't agree with you. You might want to change the way you think about this or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Anyway,
I think we have time for one more segment here.
Let's talk about that. Do you want to
Let's
talk
do
about?
it.
Do you want to talk about Fortnite and Epic Games, or do you want to talk about Mr. Beast?
Ooh, I think we should talk about...
Or conspiracy theories with Shane Dawson.
Ooh,
Those are your options.
What
Steph.
do you think?
I leave it in your hands.
I think we should since we're already talking about PewDiePie, why don't we just talk about Mr. Beast for a few minutes?
Ooh, that
Okay,
sounds
cool.
great. Okay, so the big news with Mr. Beast, right? That came out recently. Oh, this is him.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Ta-da.
Coming to a dollar store near you, where he's giving away like PlayStation 4s for $1 or less.
That's amazing.
Some of his videos, God, I love Mr. Beast. And so much of his stuff. It's so
smart.
fun to watch. It's great.
So smart. He like his again YouTubers who like even if you don't watch him, even if you're like, oh, this seems like just like way over the top and stupid or whatever, it's so smart. Watch him. Again, this is one of those things where we tell people, like, watch him, learn from him. What he does works, and it works for a reason.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Even though I would argue that, like, some of his earlier stuff, like, was frustrating because I'm like, this is so clickbaity. Like, the 20,000 magnets stopping the bullet. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah, we get called out on clickbait. Come on, guys. Come on.
There were 20,000 magnets. But, you know, whatever it is. But, no, his stuff is so great. And it's so clickable and so fun. It's so creative. And at the end of the day, I love it because especially his recent stuff is giving back to
talk
people.
about Shane, please. We'll have to save him maybe for like, I don't know, tomorrow.
We can talk about Shane during the next one of these. We'll prioritize that as number one because you can't talk about things online right now without talking about Shane
Dawson.
But the reason we called out Mr. Beast here, not only because of like the relationship to PewDiePie and him being kind of like the top general when it comes to subscribe to PewDiePie, but because he was claimed, and he's brought up kind of some of the failures of the copyright claiming system right now. So last week he was claimed for singing "Living on a Prayer" in one of his videos, right? But the claim wasn't for the song; it was for the words "living on," which was part of someone else's song.
Someone else's song, but like just a YouTuber who used those 2 words in a title and in the song itself.
Right, and so he made a copyright claim on the video. Obviously, I would assume at this point, Mr. Beast challenged that and hopefully won.
Of course,
but it did start to kind of
it's ridiculous.
Right, but it did start to expose the weaknesses of the copyright system and also how it is being abused, which I think is one of those ongoing stories that YouTube is constantly looking.
It's one of those things.
To fix,
H3's talked about it. PewDiePie's also talked about it.
It's one that
there have been a bunch of people who have really come out and said like, "Hey, I get abusive copyright claims for stuff that is obviously unfounded and that's literally just belongs to me." And we've had this experience too. It sucks.
Oh my gosh,
it sucks so badly.
If you want a good example of how broken the system is,
I have one too.
I know. Well, I was going to say.
Go ahead.
I know. I think we're thinking of the same one.
I don't know.
Oh, really? Okay, so
we've had a couple of ones that are really bad.
So obviously, like one of the big ones that gets talked about a lot is like PewDiePie singing Despacito 2 or whatever. But for us, this is my favorite one because it shows how broken it is. But we had a film theory where we covered SpongeBob. Popular topic.
Yeah, it's the last film theory that we did on SpongeBob.
Not true. Second to last.
Second to last?
It was the one where we were exposing his parents.
The lineage of the sponge.
Yeah, the lineage of SpongeBob. Who are SpongeBob's parents?
What
are they
type
really
of
sponges?
sponge?
What
Are
type
they
of sponge is
kitchen
he?
sponges?
What
are they?
That was fun. It was
That was a good
fascinating. Film and game theory take me to research some really fascinating places. Some scary places sometimes, but definitely some fascinating places.
Subscribe to Jim Sterling. He is on it. Says Tribdiginalis. We are subscribed to him.
Good old Jim. The Jimquisition.
Sorry, I just saw that when I was like, oh, people don't call it Jim very much. I should talk about it.
Right, Jim.
Okay, go ahead. Anyway.
But Jim's another guy who I find endlessly fascinating, and he's, again, super nice in person. Episode for another day. But what I was saying is, so the intro of that episode, this SpongeBob parent episode, is a parody of the SpongeBob opening, right? And it's me doing the pirate voice. Are you ready, kids? And then we have like a
don't say it. We'll get claimed on this one too.
Yes, and we have a prepackaged sound effect of a kid being like, "No." Are you sure? And it's like, no. And then like 3 hours later, okay, let's just start the episode. Like that is how the intro goes.
And it's all you.
And
it's all you saying this
That
stuff.
is me doing the pirate voice at the beginning. And what got claimed for playing the intro to SpongeBob SquarePants.
Which we did not do.
And also, like, we didn't even, like, say, like, I even said, are you ready in the pirate-esque voice, and that is the only things that I said. From that point forward, after those 3 words, are you ready, everything else was completely different, completely original, whatever.
And it's just those words said in a pirate voice, which is not a copyrightable thing. You can't copyright that.
It was copyright. It was copyrighted claimed. We disputed it. And it was reinforced. So at this point, if we want to earn any money off of that video ever again, that was claimed off of me doing, are you ready? We have to take it to court.
Yeah.
We would have to literally sue we would have to basically here's our address, sue us. We would have, it escalates to that level of, now it's a legal thing.
Yeah,
it's out
now
of
we
YouTube's
would
hands.
have to sue them, sue a media company or a record label, and us 2 people working on the internet are not going to sue Sony Records or Warner Brothers Records. There's no way that we could possibly do that. So this kind of stuff happens all the time. These kinds of copyright claims happen all the time where the system is really abused either by big companies or, in this case, just by another YouTuber. Like the other example I was going to throw out there was this one. We got a copyright claim one time, and it was from it was literally just from someone who was a troll, who just really hated us, whatever we were doing for some reason. He put a copyright claim. What video was it? I don't even remember.
It was a Sonic video, I believe.
Yeah. So whatever, there are plenty of people out there who hate the idea of theorizing about things, and so every once in a while someone come across someone like that. He put a copyright claim on the video. We sent them an email being like, hey, did we accidentally use some fan art, or did we accidentally do, use something that you created or whatever? Because we're very, very careful about this stuff. People think that we're not, but we are extremely.
People level a lot.
That's
of
like a
complaints
whole other thing. But we are so careful about what we bend over so far backwards.
So much about it.
Anyway,
it's a big deal.
Story for another day. But this guy, so we were like, what is it in the video? And he was like, I'm not gonna tell you. You're just going to have to figure it out on your own. And we were like, what? Like, you can't do that. Legally, he's as part of YouTube's terms, he's legally responsible to tell us what he owns. He has to identify the property that's his in this video. And he was literally refusing to do that. And then not only did he say that, but he was like trash talking us in this email, like really personal, just nasty, just a really bad, just a really bad person. And so we actually had to contact you.
Yeah, I think one of the opening...
what can we do at this point?
I think the opening line was something along the lines of, oh, you think you're so smart, Matpat. Figure it out why I claimed you. And this, it was like the Riddler had copyright claimed us.
Yeah,
I have set a trap for you, and now you must figure your way out of this copyright strike if you hope to earn money off your video anymore.
Yeah, and so by the way, if you ever plan on doing that to a YouTuber, you can't legally. That's illegal to do. You can't do that. So
the account will get suspended. The account will be wiped from
ultimately,
YouTube.
We had to contact YouTube and be like, hey, this guy is literally holding our video hostage. And it turns out that he hadn't even claimed our video for anything that he owned.
Yeah.
There was nothing in that video he owned.
Nothing.
And he had just decided to put a random claim on it just because he thought it would be a mean thing to do. And so we had to contact YouTube. That it had to go up 5 layers of people within YouTube. And we're really lucky because we actually have a partner manager over there. A lot of people don't. And so if this happened to a lot of people, there'd be nowhere for them to go other than to just fight it out with this troll online. And ultimately because that person, they were breaking YouTube's terms of service by harassing us, and so their account got deactivated and stuff. But and then after their account got deactivated, they sent us another threatening email being like, "You're gonna get it now" or something. And
I forgot about that, but no, you're totally right.
So now we lock our doors at night.
Yeah.
But. Because they're
how dare you have gotten my email?
They're crazy.
Got my account suspended or deleted.
Yeah, and it was we're like, it's not our choice. It wasn't our choice. See, they if you break YouTube's terms of service, they're going to suspend your account. That's not something that we control. We didn't ask for his account to be suspended or deleted, nothing like that. But again, it just goes to the point of this system can be abused so easily. Mr. Beast is a good example of it, but it happens all the time. And it's really just people who are mean and who are trying to hurt other people because they don't like something they're doing or they're jealous or whatever.
Well, and it's also one of those things, too, where there isn't really a requirement to deliver proof if you're claiming something on the other end.
That's the problem.
That's the fundamental issue here that I think YouTube continues to kind of ignore and not really address, is the fact that you can go out and copyright strike basically whatever you want without any proof that you own things. And the fascinating thing about it is when you get a copyright strike, you as the creator don't see what would, again, here's this kid who flagged our video, and we had to rely on him to tell us why he did it.
Yeah.
The strange thing about it is when you're in an MCN, or if you have what's called a CMS or a content management system, which is where all the data, all the videos kind of filter through, and you kind of control the copyright claims for a big business. And I got to see this because of my role at Defy, and I've seen it in other companies in the past. But basically, you get to see, hey, this video seems to be using your content, and YouTube will actively say it's between this second and this second, and for us it was a 70% match. Do you want to is this actually your content, and do you want to claim it? The system will when content ID matches things, that's what happens when it's kind of in a questionable territory. And so they will show you here's the segment that we think is infringing on something that you own. Is it, and is it bad enough that you want to claim it? And you can say yes or no. That is what the system delivers to big companies who have CMSs, content management systems, to manage their copyrights.
Yeah.
For YouTuber X, you know, no matter how big you are, if you're just still a channel like we are, and we don't have one of those tools at our disposal, we are literally at the mercy of these people who don't have to give proof.
Yeah.
And likewise, you know, we are not told by YouTube.
Anything.
We do not get that privilege of this person claimed your video for this reason. It was manually claimed.
Good luck.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, then we're talking to all the editors and being like,
Where did you get
all of the
everything?
images?
Where did you get
Like,
every single image? And you can imagine for a game theory video or a film theory video, that's a huge number of images. And we,
hundreds
again,
of assets every video.
And we're really careful to use stuff that is not not copywritten and is specifically cleared by Google Images and by other sources to be reused on the internet. And so we'll get into that like another day, but like we're really careful about it. But then everyone has to scramble to like figure out what the heck could have possibly been claimed. So it's something that we talk to YouTube about a lot, actually. Like we complain about on behalf of Mr. Beast and like everyone, including ourselves who this happens to, we talk to YouTube about this every chance we get. We're like, the system is broken. You need tools. You need and hey, okay, if you don't want to give tools to everybody, give a subscriber threshold, something that gives people the ability to control their own content.
Yeah, because they're always afraid
some point, right?
that when you roll it out to everyone, that it gets abused. And I understand that fear,
yeah.
right? Like I understand that fear. But there's a better way to do things.
Because this does not work.
Because right now the system is very much like guilty until proven innocent, as opposed to, hey, maybe we should actually hold the copyright claimer accountable as well to show some proof. And it's fascinating too, because obviously on the Game Theorist in the early days, we had a lot of partner shows. Now we don't have quite as many, but unfortunately I wish we still could. But in the early days, we were testing out a lot of different shows, including scripted shows. Tome is this animated show that we tried on the channel because I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun. It's nerdy. It's well produced.
Yeah.
I think that the audience might enjoy it. Unfortunately, they didn't, but but it was just one of those things that I'm like, oh, let's share the channel here so that way you can get more views onto this, this high quality production that you made, and hopefully more money off of it too because of, more views, more AdSense, whatever.
Yeah.
And we were working in partnership with the original creator of that series, the original animator, the guy who had put it together, blood, sweat, and tears. And the first episode, like from the get-go, I'm like, this is not going well because not from the viewership standpoint, but because I uploaded it onto YouTube and I'm like, monetize, and they're like, no. And I'm like, why not? And they're like, you need permission from the original creator. I don't know what it was, but something flagged in the system of like, we won't monetize this because we don't trust that you have permission from the original creator. And I'm like, I do. Like it wasn't even like a form I could fill. It's like, here's your like 5 prepackaged responses, and I'm like, I have permission from the original creator. And I get back like a couple days later and they're like, no. Yeah. Like no chance for me to upload a letter from the creator being like, I give Matpat / the Game Theorist permission to distribute this and monetize it. Nothing. There was no chance for me to prove that everything that I had done for that video was in partnership with this guy and that I had all the rights available. I was, again, guilty until proven innocent. Even when I had opportunities to like actually respond, there was still just like flat out denial.
This just happened with one of our episodes, one of Austin's episodes of the Science on Game Theory.
Yeah, 100%.
Where he had permission, he had licensed a song, he had like fully licensed it and uploaded the video. It got claimed by this like song holder, and we went through this whole rigmarole to like get it released. And then it was like, okay, is he going to be able to monetize this? And it took days and days for him to be able to like monetize it again so that we could like give him the AdSense that came from that video.
Again, a
and
song
stuff.
that he had outright paid for.
He had paid for the song, and he had so much trouble. And it was so anyway, the system is definitely broken. Totally feel the pain Mr. Beast is like gone through. Although I'm sure he got it resolved, because that's like an open and shut case. There's no way.
It is worth calling out though, and this is the last thing that we'll say before we have to wrap things up, is I give music every once in a while a hard time in episodes relating to copyright or things like that. Last time I mentioned it, I think, was the Article 13 episode over on Film Theorists, where I'm like, the music industry is kind of a mafia. By the way, bye. Like I drop it in every once in a while, and like,
but it's true,
just to seed it out there. there's not really a good opportunity for me to really talk about it. But the more and more we learn about music, like the just worse and worse of an industry it is. But like literally every element of a song can be like if you just re-upload a music video onto your channel, you're gonna get claimed 3 times, at least 3 times. Once for the actual notes in the song, once for like the video, like the music video, and then once for the lyrics. There's also the performance and things like that. But the fascinating thing is I would have always wanted to do music theory as like the third theorist branch, right? The third theory channel. But because you can't even address lyrics without opening yourself up to copyright claiming. And so
we can't even like analyze lyrics for music. And it's such a shame because there are so many songs that people don't remember anymore or don't realize like that they would love if they understood them. Like that kind of channel could help people appreciate all kinds of music that they've just never been exposed to, and music like all sorts of stuff,
notes and compositions, and chord structures.
Appreciate how great some of the musicians are that like currently exist or have existed in the past, and there's no way to do that.
Musical technique, and let's learn about it.
There's no way to do that and actually like be able to make your money back.
Yeah, just because everything would get claimed by the music label, even though it would fall under fair use.
Yeah,
and you would be fighting so many legal battles. But again, it's one of those things that lyrics can be claimed, and it's just this weird idea that like a series of words can be claimed, but it's treated in much the same way as like a book.
People are like book theory, music theater theory. We have some ideas. Yeah.
But anyway,
so
that being said, Mr. Beast might have gotten away with this living on idea that hopefully he was able to clear the copyright away from that guy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But technically, if he was truly singing that song, he could legitimately get claimed by and it doesn't even matter if you're singing the song poorly. Like if you're singing the lyrics to the song more than I think it's 2 lines or something like that, just citing the lyrics, you could get claimed just from that. And then like the progression of the notes. That's why cover artists can't really do covers
on YouTube.
So much
cover
anymore.
Artists have such a hard time. Yeah, and a lot of them are like amazing covers, but those people can't ever make money off of those.
You can make like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction.
It's really
off of it
small.
At this point.
And the so the other thing that we like won't get into, but like the music labels are always saying like, oh, these artists deserve to make money if someone else is using their songs. But the truth of it is that the artists, like the actual music artists, see almost zero from that.
That's probably
the
the
music
biggest lie that the music label
keep almost everything.
Yeah,
there's so little. The percentage that the actual artists, like whether you're Taylor Swift or whether you're like just like an upstart music artist, if you're going through a label, you see almost none of that. So that's also kind of a lie.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
Topic.
But yeah, this idea
there's
of
plenty
like
of tea to spill.
We're supporting the creators' rights, and are you though? Like really, how much of that bottom line is the actual creator at the end of the day seeing of that, and how much are you seeing labeled?
Come on.
It's a weird industry, and we know people, we've worked with people who come from that world and will outright like the stories we hear from them are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And as it's actually very much changed my own personal opinions of music. Like I am much less likely to listen to like popular music on the radio anymore, just because like my perception of it has been so soured. Like everyone has to listen to music at some point, but I will more than not default to listening to just other YouTube videos and stuff as podcasts like this one right here, rather than like listening to the radio in a lot of cases, just because I'm like, do I really want to support this industry in any significant way? And a lot of times it's hard for me to get over that mental barrier.
Yeah.
Which is sad, because music shouldn't be ruined for people.
I know. But that's another story for another day.
It is.
I'm sure it'll come up again. And in the meantime, I think we have more stories to talk about for next time.
Congratulations, Stephanie. We've
covered like 2 out of the stories we had like a whole bunch of pages of like, here are all the cool things that are going on that we can talk about.
That we could, there were how many stories here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 10 stories here, and we covered like 3.5.
Hey.
So maybe in the future we'll move through them faster, or maybe not. We don't know. Like we said, we're figuring this out alongside you guys.
Yeah, this is all an experiment, and you guys have already been giving us feedback in the chat, so thank you for that already. And thank you for like all of your support and watching this through. It seems like a lot of you stuck all the way through from start to finish, which is awesome. Next time we have like lots of other stuff to talk about. Next time we do this format again. It's really important to us that you give your thoughts on what you thought, if you want to see more, and then if you have requests for topics, if it's something where you're like, yeah, definitely do this again, and I want you to talk about whatever story it is.
Yeah, we want to talk about the stories that you guys care about.
Yep.
And the personal histories or whatever, or our thoughts on the things that are going on. So let us know, what you thought of the format. Did we spend too long on things? Should we move faster? Or was this about right? How was the length? Again, we're figuring all of this out. And when we do this next time, which will probably be, I would assume, next Tuesday.
Yeah, I guess
like,
so. Tea Time Tuesday?
Tea Time Tuesday. Tea Tuesday. Spill the Tea Tuesday.
GT Tuesday.
GTLive Tuesday. Tea Series Tuesday. Let us know. Let us know how we can make it better and what you'd like to see and talk about, because we are here on the couch to talk about it. So with that being said,
I think that wraps up our first GT podcast.
I don't even really have a good I mean, I could do the usual sign
we
off.
We could do like a soft ASMR clap and a half or something.
Wow. So that's weird. Here's a
Ready?
clap and a half for everyone at home.
1, 2, 3.
Ooh. And that's a good podcasty clap and a half.
I know.
And thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you tomorrow from the standpoint of the live stream. We're back tomorrow, 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific time.
Same time, same couch.
And from the standpoint of this potentially being a podcast,
wow.
next Tuesday,
hopefully
friends.
we'll see you. Hopefully you liked it.
In the meantime, let us say goodbye in the chat.
In the chat.
Shall we?
Yeah. John from Philly Vlogs says GT Time Tuesday. Tea Time Tuesday. This was amazing, says Emily Ferguson. Thank you, Emily.
Diane Bischoff, thank you. This was really great. Love the conversation. Awesome.
Awesome. Lindsay Anjouin, Tuesdays with GT Live.
Oh man, Tara E7 says make it longer. Wow.